Okay, I think we're back. Alright, we're finally back. It's not over. Finally. Okay, good. Alright. Whew. Okay. Apologies, guys. We can hear the typing. Okay, I don't know. It's coming from a different mic or the mic. I don't know what's wrong with the settings with this mic, but at some point I'm just going to have to throw out this Blue Yeti because it's been giving me too many issues. Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. We are back here at the American Rail Club. Hope you all are doing well. Oop. There we go. Okay. Yeah, just some technical delays. Okay, we're here. Okay, it's at least we're a little bit more punctual than Amtrak. At least we're here. Okay, how's it going, everybody? It has been a bit, but I'm gonna make this short because we haven't been able to get on Discord in a while and everything else. I've been traveling for work. I've been moving, as you can see. Back behind me is a different place, so we're gonna get the whole setup here soon. So I'm working on a temporary solution right now. That's why things are kind of messed up. In fact, the laptop that I was originally, well, not originally, but what I was working on the past few months is, for some reason, doesn't want to go because Windows updated itself to death. But, you know, hey, it's Windows, so I'm going to try to fix it at some point, but we're here. So, yeah, it has been a few months, and I've been traveling to work. I've been to Springfield, Missouri. I've been to St. Louis. I've been to Oklahoma City. I've been to Corpus Christi, Texas. I've been all over the country, and I still got places to go. But, yeah, it's been a bit, guys. But let's get through this. So why are we talking about the election, the economy? No money, no infrastructure. Well, there have been some good spots, but we're not moving anywhere where we're at. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the welcome back. But we're here. So let's get to it. I've been wasting too much time with technical difficulties here. So it has been 1 year, a 1 year anniversary for Brightline, that they finally connected to South Florida to Orlando. So you guys can see over here, Brightline is doing pretty well. And we will be talking about Brightline West a good amount over here because we do have a lot to talk about Brightline West and some other stuff. So, yeah, people are getting vouchers. People are being able to go to Orlando in a reasonable amount of time, and it's there. The whole experiment that high-speed rail can't work in this country, that the whole misnomer that it can't work has been debunked. It does work. It's there. We have a private company that is running a high-speed rail service, the first of its kind in this country in such a long time. Probably, well, the first of its kind, period, in this country. Higher speed rail service. Not technically high-speed rail, but higher speed rail service from Miami to Orlando. It's been completed and has been working for a year. So it is working. So where do we go from there? Well, the next step is looking at some other places around the country where high-speed rail can be going to, okay? And this is kind of where we start looking at some of the issues here around the country, is that while we're seeing some movement, while we're seeing plans being made, there's apparently a lack of significant funding for many of these projects across the country. Now, why would we say that? Well, we do have Brightline West, and they did get a significant amount, I would say, from the federal government in order to go ahead and build Brightline West, which I will be going to, hopefully within the next month. I'll be going to the California area. I'm not going to tell you guys exactly where and when I'm going because people are weird on the internet, but I will be going there quite soon, within the next within the next quarter or so, to go ahead and do some more videos over there and get this. I don't have a whole backlog of videos and stuff. When I went to Oklahoma City, I did finally ride on the Oklahoma City streetcar, and I was the OKC streetcar is okay. I'll talk about that later, but what we're talking about here is that the government seems to say that there's no sort of significant funding available, or experts say that there's no significant funding available. And I would beg to differ that it's not that there isn't significant funding, because Brightline got $3 billion, and that's moving forward. And even the California High-Speed Rail, our favorite, as you can tell, got $54 million. Again, Not much compared to a ninth of whatever Brightline got. So definitely not that much. But then again, can California really get some money for their own project when they're not having anything to really show for it apart from high-speed concrete? They're putting in some concrete. It's getting there in the same amount of time that Brightline started after California, because California started building, 2014 or so, 2015? Meanwhile, we have this in Florida. Okay, so there's a significant difference as to saying, well, we don't have funding, or we don't have the wherewithal and the speed to get things moving. Okay? Because there's a lot when it comes to do with funding and everything. And it's not like there isn't money to go around either. Okay? Because when it comes to this election, the biggest, by far, the biggest problem that people are going to be facing and why they're going to be voting in this election, if it even matters anyway, if voting even matters at this rate, is this. This is the major problem that most of us are facing, especially in our generation, are facing. Everything is expensive. We can't afford things. This is all the election comes down to. That's it. This is it. We can't afford anything that much anymore. Okay? We are not living in the same sort of galaxy that many of these people in their heads are living in, or where this country was 100 years ago. It is a completely different planet than what it was 100 years ago when we were able to build fantastic, beautiful skyscrapers, beautiful infrastructure, like you guys have seen on the Little Dark Age of Infrastructure video that I've made. And the last time I looked at it, now it's like over 500,000 views. It's like, I've been asleep, and then all of a sudden it's like, look at that. Wow. Okay. And that's the issue. Okay. Most people are not going to be able to afford a $150 ticket to go to Disney World on Brightline, because even Disney World is over expensive. There's been reports of Disney's inflation being out of reach now for the average American family, and that was the American trip that people would take. I mean, I can speak for myself, being a native Floridian living in South Florida. Our family would go ahead and get an annual pass, and we would go to Disney World probably almost every other weekend. Okay? That's been impossible for a lot of people now. Okay? And it's not just vacations, right? Because once pocketbooks start to get tighter, vacations are like the first thing that goes out. Okay? It's everything else that we're talking about: food, travel, anywhere else, business, commerce. All of that has come to nowhere near the amount that we need in order to make this sort of feasible anymore. Okay? And that's the problem. Okay? They're building stuff that is not going to be helping this country anymore. Okay? And not only that, it's the problem is that we're in a situation globally that our greatest, you can so say, geopolitical friends are getting us involved now into an even more greater degree of war, which I will not talk too much in detail of this channel, because that's not for this channel. But all that money we spent, how many billions of dollars are now have gone over to the certain Eastern European country? How many more billions of dollars have gone to our so-called the great ally in the Middle East? Okay, all of these billions of dollars that we lack significant funding for, could be going to these projects. And it comes back to the point. It's not that we don't have the money, because we can print that out. It's not that we don't have all the utilities or factories, because we have the land. We have enough people here in this country. There's no need to bring in 40 million more, when there are so many of us in our generation that are out of work, that need work, and even if they do get work, you still can't afford anything. So it's not that, it's that they don't want to use the money for that. They don't want to go ahead and build this sort of stuff. They want war, they want everything else, and they want to use that money not for us. Okay, because again, we could have already built. If this country really wanted to, if this country really wanted to build a transcontinental network of high-speed rail, intercity networks and intermodal networks of streetcars all over the country, it could have done it within 10 years. 10 years. Okay? You can't tell me that China can be able to do all of that within the same amount of time that the Obama administration came and went. China had already built itself a high-speed rail network across the country. There's no way that this country cannot do the same thing anymore. And that's the problem that we need to talk about when it comes to this. Okay? And it's not just, again, it's not just the money. There's no motivation for the United States government, the federal government mainly, to build any sort of real infrastructure projects. I mean, and the silly thing is that their own, here we go, if I can get this zoomed in correctly, their own bureaucracy even says that, yeah, here's the Department of Energy Research shows investment in transit service will result in more transit use throughout Chicago, Illinois. You think? You think? So they're dangling this in front of us. It's like, yeah, if we actually made a transit system, if we actually made an economy that would work for you guys, it would be working for you guys. But oh wait, we won't spend the money on that. We won't go ahead and put the effort towards doing that. Because all the effort right now from the federal government and most politicians right now is this telescopic philanthropy for everybody else but not our problems. And then we'll bring in everybody else's problems into our country rather than rebuilding ourselves. Okay? And that's a fact. That's the problem. And this is why, at this point, I mean, yeah, look, this is great. This is fantastic. Well, I mean, this is this is kind of an embarrassment. Okay? But this, okay, this would be fantastic. This would be great. This would be fantastic. But here's the problem. The shiny new trains and the shiny new infrastructure means dick diddly squat if you can't afford rent or groceries. Okay? And that's the main concern when it comes to this. Okay? Even more important than infrastructure, we need to be supporting American families, American young people especially, that are the backbone of this country, that will be the backbone for generations to come. If we can't be able to get our own generations and our own people to get back into work, not just work, okay, because working retail for $10, $12 an hour is not meaningful and sustainable work. I'm talking about something that's going to pay an actual family wage, because back in the 1950s you could be a janitor over at General Motors and be able to not only afford a house, okay, not just afford a wife, but your wife could stay home, you can have 3 kids, and you can have 2 cars. And you can go to Disneyland. You cannot do that now. And that is the major issue. We want to build this country greater than it ever has been before. We need to start making that known. Okay? We're getting there. We're starting to push. And I'm seeing in circles in different places politically, online, whether it's Twitter or X or whatever they want to call it, especially this generation, we have been ticked off. Millennials and Zoomers, we're all in the same boat together, unfortunately. And it's kind of yeah. We're tired of this. We're sick of this. We want to be able to have this sort of stuff. We want to be able to work on this sort of stuff. Okay, because instead of most of you guys, from what I've talked to in the club and on Discord, most of you guys are extremely intelligent. You should be the ones that should be in charge of Norfolk Southern or BNSF, not some DEI hires or some crudgy old boomers that are just looking for market share, that are just looking for, well, how can I get my stock buybacks? How can we make this country better? How can I provide a place for young men and for young families in America to be able to live, work, and prosper? That's what we need to start focusing on. Okay? And we need to make that message clear. We need to start pushing that even more. We'll get there. We'll get there because time is on our side on this. Okay, now when it comes to what sort of things that you can do yourself, you guys are probably thinking, well, Demetrius, what the hell can I do? You're right. You're absolutely right on all this. Well, I'm not going to be absolutely right, but you have a point. But what do you want me to do? What can I do? Okay, and it's going to be simple. Look, none of us are going to be able to solve this overnight. It's not going to go and fix. Ta-da! Okay, you got a job. You got you got a house, and you can start building and working on the railroads. No, it's not. It's not going to work like that. Okay, it's going to take time. Because as long as it's taken to do the damage that we've had to this country, not we, but whatever the last generations have done, it's going to take about the same amount of effort. Okay? Either effort or time. That's what we got. So, this was an article, and again, I'm not a fan of Reason TV. Okay? I've been and passed my Lowbird stage back in college. Okay? That's done and over with. Okay? But they do have some points here that you can, well, reason with, okay? It does take longer in America and takes longer and costs more to build infrastructure. And this is a thing that we've brought on this channel since the beginning, okay? For 10 years that we've been on here, we've talked about this, that it takes way too long and it costs a heck of a lot more to build something that is nowhere close to what other countries can do. Now, this is actually pretty cool if you guys have seen this, okay? Now, Brightline has done something similar. This is what's called a precast span method, okay, where you can be able to do this. And Brightline did something similar to like this. You already have it done. You push it on there. You move it in. And there's less of any sort of disruption to the general population. You're not closing down a highway for 8 months to a year like they do here in the state of Indiana or like they do in every other state. Every 50 states, all the 50 states do this. When they have to go ahead and build a new highway or anything else, it'll take 5 years for a small freaking project that should be done within several months. And instead, they'll take their sweet time. Because why? Because there's a thing called construction fraud. Okay, and there's a legalized version of construction fraud within the United States. And what a lot of municipalities and states do, if not all of them do, is that they will stretch along a project instead of going ahead and spending all the money that they need to get it done within a certain time frame in a correct amount of time. They will stretch it along in order to go ahead and prove and say that, oh, we need more money for our yearly budget. Okay. And because they can stretch it out, they can go ahead and ask for more money from the state, or they can ask for more money from the federal government, and use that to go ahead and push and say, oh, we need more money. It's not about building anything. Box jacking. Thank you, Ricardo. Yes. So there's precast span methods, and then there's box jacking. Okay? And that's what this is. Okay? So why can't we do this in this country? Okay? South Korea could build 1 mile of high-speed rail line, not just any rail line, high-speed rail line, which takes much more technological effort, and there's much more safety standards that go into it. 1 mile per day. We can't even do 1 mile per week. Hell, I mean, California can't even do 1 mile in 10 years. Where is the rail? Where is the rail? Where are the trains? This is high-speed rail, right? Where are they? Where are the trains, California? Okay, and we've been so supportive. I wouldn't say supportive. Okay, we want California to have high-speed rail. We want the rest of the United States to have high-speed rail. Okay, but when you do this, or you spend $666 million on consultants, or some weird number on 12 consultants that did nothing. This is weird. Okay, we're sick of it. We ourselves can't afford to even sustain ourselves, and this country is just, well, we need more money. We need more taxes. We're going to actually keep printing out more money, so inflation goes up. And by the way, you can't afford anything. By the way, we need $100 billion to send to the certain Eastern European country. Oh, and we need $200 billion for the certain Middle Eastern friend. I'm sorry, make that 300. Make that 400. Actually, make that $1 trillion. And if you're not, you know what word you are. You're anti. You know what? I mean, this is nuts. But we'll get. I mean, and it's going to come to a point that we will have power at some point. Okay, our generation will get there. But it's going to be a big cleanup. It's going to be a big cleanup effort. Okay, because on top of the legalized construction fraud within the country, you also have all the laws that have been passed and red tape, like the EPA environmental impact study, like the EIS. Why do I need an environmental impact study that takes months to a year to realize that, oh yes, an electric train is going to cause less of an impact to the environment than a 20-lane highway? Why do I need that? Why does that take why does it even take a year? Why does that take 3 months? Why can't that take a week? It's done on purpose. Our country has been kneecapped on purpose. And it's gonna get worse before it gets better, because not only have we had multiple strikes in this country because people aren't getting paid. Again, this is what the election comes down to. It's not coming down to, I want better infrastructure, I want better roads, I want a safer country. No, it's coming down to, I can't afford to do anything in this country anymore. This is what it's coming down to. So people are getting ticked off because they're not getting their fair share, if you want to put it that way. So they're striking out. The U.S. dock workers are preparing to strike on October 1st. Ports on the east and Gulf coasts. So it's not going to look good for again all these boxes over here. What are they filled with? Well, they're filled with a lot of goods. Those goods are not going to go on trains. Those goods are not going to go to the Walmarts or wherever else you buy goods. Or those goods are not going to go to Amazon. And guess what? The goods that are already there, they're going to go up in price. And BNSF and Union Pacific and all those other companies are not going to be happy that they're not getting enough product moving through. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. Okay? And at some point, here's another strike that's going on. Boeing strike costs U.S. $1 billion of GDP in just 2 weeks. So there we go. Boeing, as we talked about before, again, part of the military-industrial complex that will not... if you happen to be a whistleblower, there's a 100% chance you're not going to be living much longer, as it seems. So yeah, it's happening everywhere. It's gonna get worse, guys. So at least for now, what can we do? What solutions do we have? Okay, first of all, we need to keep pushing the message of we need to start building in this country. Make it a thing. Make it a thing. Okay? Start going to DOT meetings if you have to. I was almost about to go to one, but forget it. I could not go to the Department of Transportation meeting in my state, of the state of Indiana, to talk about that they're going to start another project. Okay? Do you know that this state had not even 5 years ago, maybe 800 road projects that they were working on, and now it's doubled to almost 15,000 1,500 or 1,600 road projects. They haven't even finished the ones that are there. So I could not get to that meeting on time at all because of their stupid road projects. Okay? It's simple. We want the stuff that's already getting built to be done and quick in an orderly manner, not a whole bunch of junk thrown around all over the place in order to justify a larger budget from the state. This is not what we're doing. Okay? So what can we do? Well, make your voices heard, because at some point somebody's going to catch on. Okay? Just like we did over in Miami and in South Florida when it came to Brightline and when it came to getting more transit within South Florida. Okay? You make your voices heard. Okay? A lot of those commissioners that I spoke to at that time, what was it, 8 years ago? They're not there anymore. They're gone. But guess what's there? Brightline is there. Okay? There's a station in Aventura right now that you can be able to take and go to Fort Lauderdale or to Miami or to Boca Raton or to Orlando. So it's there. Okay? Not because the North Miami Beach or any of these other commissioners had a little meeting and a little chat to talk about something that's not going to get done. No, instead we say, hey, this is getting done. Why don't you go ahead and support this instead? You've talked and you've talked and you've talked about these, whatever, half-penny plans that all these other counties do, or half-cent taxes, or any of these taxes to go ahead and promise us a whole lot of big crap that never gets done. Okay, so get angry at them. Say, listen, you're going to be, you will pay for this at some point or another. Okay, we know it, and guess what? Time is on our side. We're younger, we're stronger, and it seems we're smarter. We'll get there. Okay, we'll have to bide our time if we have to get this done. Okay, so we'll get there, guys. Here's some other news. Amtrak is going to run a service from Chicago to Florida. So you think it's going to be a direct service? Not direct, but going via Indianapolis, Louisville, and down through Tennessee. No, it's going to go follow the Empire Builder and then the Silver Meteor, Silver Star. So it's going. The Capital Limited. So it's going from Chicago to Washington and then Miami to New York. Like you already couldn't do that before. Okay? But they don't have a date for the new Chicago route. Look, they're trying something. Now, this could have been done years ago. They could have been able to build maybe a high-speed rail project, but we don't have that. Okay? Or something just better along. Okay, now we know things are getting worse in terms of not just the economy, but I mean, even just going on a train or any sort of going on any sort of transit itself can become a danger in itself. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Oklahoma streetcar that I had the pleasure of going on, and I will say, look, I went there on a weekday in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day. And it was close to 95 degrees. Okay, get it. It's not a game day or it's not a weekend or where everybody's going out or anything like that. So I didn't expect it to be crowded or filled or anything like that. Okay? Now, Oklahoma City spent a significant amount of money to build the streetcar. And as I've I wouldn't say complained, but this is a viable complaint that streetcars should not be stopping at stoplights. Okay, there's streetcars. The only time they should be stopping is 2 times they should be stopping is 1 at a station, 2 in emergency. At that point, if you're stopping at stoplights, it's just a fancy bus, and that's not what a streetcar is. There's a place for a bus and there's a place for a streetcar. A streetcar is not there as a circulator bus. But anyway, my biggest concern, and this has been in every city that I've been to in the United States, especially in the last several years post the coup, has been the amount of homeless on the street. And again, I feel for these guys. Our system has failed them miserably. Okay? And on top of that, they're spiraling themselves because if they're homeless, that means nobody wants to house them. They may have family or friends, but they're so crazy or drugged up that nobody wants them in their home or near them. So the only place they can be is on the street. And if it's super hot outside and you're melting, and you know there's a place that it's not going to really care if you have a ticket or not, you're going to go into the nice air-conditioned streetcar. Now, I've born and raised in Miami. I've seen plenty of homeless in my life. I haven't had any issues with them, and I didn't have any issues with them on the streetcar. Okay, so anecdotally, I don't have anything except some weird stories of some people receiving cigarettes or some people dictating on their phone a weird sort of story, and I'll leave that for another time because that was kind of nuts. But the thing is that again, it comes down to this. It comes down to this again. Okay, why are they homeless on the street? Well, because they don't have the services or the wherewithal, whether mentally or in their heads, because 90% of them are on drugs. And why are they on drugs? Well, it can be for a number of things. Okay, like the opiate crisis we had in this country. A lot of people who were normal, fine, working, all of a sudden got hurt, and then now they are addicted to drugs because that was by design by the Sackler family. And this is a problem. So now, if you go to New York City, especially New York City, it's even worse. You have a chance of dying because you'll get stabbed, punched, or pushed into a train or subway or into the tracks because of the amount of, not just the homeless in this country. It's already bad enough that we have failed the people who have lived in this country or born in this country and they're living on the streets. But our government has found it feasible to go ahead and start importing in a whole bunch of other people into this country that aren't working, that aren't really contributing to this country at all, period. The only thing they're contributing now is an increase in violence. So now the FTA is issuing a general directive to help transit agencies protect frontline workers because it's gone up, let me see here, 100-something% of crime. Let me see, where's the exact number? Because I want to be right over here just to make sure. 120% increase of assault against transit workers. That's just against transit workers. So, not that I think these guys are really going to really stop any sort of crime or anything like that. They don't really seem that threatening at all. Okay, now I'm not asking for Jinro Panzer cops to be patrolling the sub, although that would be cool if we did have that on the MTA or Judge Dredd. But what I am asking for you guys, because we're not going to fix this, right? I can ask all day long to Eric Mayer Adams, who is will have to be answering for a judge for something else. But what I'm answering for you guys is that, yeah, be prepared whenever you ride on transit. And that's another reason why people aren't going to ride on transit in the United States. It was a massive difference when I rode in Tokyo. I wasn't constantly looking with my head on a swivel. I wasn't trying to figure out, okay, that guy may be crazy, that guy may try to stab me, that guy may try to rob my shoes, like I was on the Miami bus. You didn't get any of that in Tokyo. Okay, so there's a problem here in this country. Okay, this is, it's crazy where this country has gone. So yeah, why would anybody want to ride on any sort of transit? You can invest in transit and all that sort of stuff, but no one is going to want to ride it because you have a 120% increase to transit of assaults against transit workers. Okay, I can probably find the exact number somewhere or some sort of number, unless you guys know it. But I guarantee you, it's at least close to 100% increase, either twice or three times the amount of crime of assaults on people. Just regular commuters on transit across the country, not just New York, but across the country, because the same thing's been happening in whether it's Denver, okay, whether it's on the BART in San Francisco, whether it's LA, whether it's anywhere, whether it's Chicago. There's been an increase in assaults and violence. So nobody's going to want to go ahead and ride on trains. So what's your next step? Okay, well, I can't ride on a train because I may get stabbed. I'm going to go in a car. Well, the cars are super expensive, right? The average price of a new car now is $45,000. Well, if you want to get a used car, the average price of a used car is about $25,000. I don't think anybody here has $25,000 lying around to go ahead and buy a used car that will probably break within 3 years, because a lot of these used cars are, let's say, Ford quality, you can say, right? Fix or repair daily. But Ford wanted to go ahead and give you, well, you won't have a train, but we will give you a personal bullet train. Probably starting price at what, $80,000? If I can find the price over here. And they're asking, gee, why did this fail? Why did we try to go ahead and, and you're seeing this with not just Ford, but you're seeing this with Stellantis or Chrysler, as they should still be called. You want a Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Well, that's going to cost you about $100,000 for an SUV. So, yeah, you're kind of stuck. You're stuck. Again, comes right back down to this. This meme just encapsulates the pure bubbling rage that is within our generation and so many other people. Because I'm pretty sure there's a good amount of baby boomers that are feeling like this too. Okay? And again, for the good ones of you who are watching this and are agreeing with this, I commend you. Okay? I'm sorry that the good amount of your generation is what it is. But again, so again, because of that, because of this, nobody feels that they owe anything back to this country. Okay? So, and it's not just here in the United States, it's also in the UK. This is coming from the UK. More than a third of under 40s would refuse conscription in the event of a world war, which is pretty possible. I mean, given the circumstances of what's been going on across the entire world, it's pretty possible that they may be happening. And we're seeing this over here in the United States. Again, apologies because, again, I'm working off a temporary setup over here. By hopefully this time next week, we'll get better. But here we are. America's incredible shrinking military recruiting pool is getting smaller and smaller. Okay? And again, most of our generation does not want to go in. Even for what? Most people are... 71% of young people did not qualify in the fiscal year because of obesity, drugs, physical and mental health problems, misconduct, and aptitude. Okay, fine. But even for those of us who are pretty well built, pretty well off, what do I owe you? What? I owe you because of this? You give me this, and I'm supposed to owe you. That's not how it works. That's not how rights and duties work. Sorry, no. But this is where we're going, guys. Yeah. So if you get a knock on the door, why? So you can not help me? So you can do this, make our country more of an embarrassment? No. So some of us have gonna have to say no, and that's where it has to stay at some point. Okay. Again, it's not investing in or spreading the wealth or anything like that. It's running a nation and making a nation that is viable for its people to live in and prosper in. That's what it comes down to. Okay? $60,000 new cars, or investing trillions of dollars, or I guess not trillions, all right, but billions of dollars into an electrification program that only happens to build a handful of charging stations, and not even that. It's not even going to not even addressing the fact that our own electric system is decades behind. Because we can look at what happened just now in the last couple of hours, and it's still happening. Okay, Hurricane Helene, or Helene, however anybody wants to pronounce it. Okay, has completely destroyed a whole lot of towns, cities, and places across the eastern United States. Okay, whether it's the mudslides in Appalachia or the storm surges on the west coast of Florida, those are places that are going to have to rebuild. Okay, and a lot of places that have had terrible electric infrastructure that are now out of no electricity. Up to Ohio. I think there was about 100,000 people at the very least without electricity in Ohio. And I didn't say that on purpose or for any sort of Gen Z meme or anything like that on Ohio. It's just that, again, why does a hurricane, and we had it here, we had some storm, and again, being from Florida, everybody's freaking out about rain and wind. It was drizzling over here, and it was a little bit of wind. Okay? Not that big of a deal for me, but I guess a big of a deal for everybody else. But, yeah. If our electric infrastructure can't take a little bit of wind and rain, how the heck are we going to be able to support millions upon millions of electric cars within this country? Not happening. Okay? They can do it in China because China's going to do whatever the hell it please. Okay? And it doesn't matter if it's a communist system or a socialist system or whatever that they're doing, which is an absolutely terrible system. But at least the thing that they have right is that China is going to... They're positioning themselves to be the best in the world. Our country is not doing that. We're riding on the coattails of the past and falling on our face in the future. That's where we're going there. And again, there's a reason why we have to keep fighting and we have to keep saying this. Okay? And I'll go right back to Brightline, and that's where I'm going to try to end this and bring this full circle. Because if you remember 10 years ago, when we were pushing for Brightline, there was a very vocal, I would say there was a minority of the population that was very vocal in the Treasure Coast. Mostly happened to be people over the age of 55 or baby boomers, as you can say. They were very vocal against Brightline. They didn't want it there. They actually spent millions of dollars of their own county's money to go ahead and protest and try to stop the project, only for it to fall flat on their face. Fast forward 10 years later, and now people who are in support of it in that same area are really wanting to have a Brightline station there. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they've missed a train, because in their same vicinity, they had a vocal minority take over. Again, a subversive vocal minority take over their town and ruin it for them. Kind of a story of America, right now? Very, oh man. But yeah, this sucks for them. This really sucks. And it's honestly not their fault, okay? Maybe they weren't aware of it 10 years ago. But now that they see it working, they want it. So now Stewart residents are not giving up on the Brightline station. City commissioners rescinded agreements with the rail line in Martin County last month. They fumbled the ball badly when they canceled this train station, and now we're just trying to get word out and hope they pick up the ball and run with it and get back together before it's too late. Again, this is why it's important to get involved in your local community. Get involved in your commission meetings, okay? Again, you go to these commission meetings, there's going to be nobody there. You go to these DOT meetings, there's going to be nobody there. At least get yourself involved. At least try to make yourself look like somebody who is involved and caring about what happens in their community. Because you will get somebody's ear. You will get somebody's ear, and it will change something. Like we did in South Florida with Brightline and with that station, okay? It's not at all to say that I did or anything like that, because I probably didn't, okay? But I at least did a little push. A little push to get the ball rolling, okay? That's all it takes is one push here, there. You keep punching, you keep hitting at the body, and at some point, it's going to fall. Some point, we'll get our way. And that's what you have to keep doing, because if at some point, it may be too late, and you'll miss the train. That's what we're talking about, guys. Okay, so what to do? Again, make sure you yourself are squared off. Okay, make sure you're not in super big financial trouble. Again, this is what it comes down to. This is what this election comes down to. Again, election selection, it doesn't matter. We all know that this is what it is. But at least do something yourself, because one little, whether you have a piece of paper that you put a point in, or a whatever, you go into a booth and you press a button. For every one of you, there's probably going to be 10 other idiots that are going to do exactly what you don't want to do. And if there's not 10 other idiots, there's at least one other idiot that's going to do the opposite of what you're going to do and nullify you. And if it's not that, they're going to go ahead and print out a whole bunch of other stuff. Right? So again, you can try. Go ahead. Not saying you shouldn't. Go ahead. But at least square yourself off first. Okay? Because you got to be responsible for yourself and your family. And then work on your community. We'll get there. We will get there at some point. At least we have something, right? We have an example that can work, that is working, and it will work over here, because at this point, Brightline West is happening. It's going to happen. They're building there, Las Vegas to Victorville, then to Rancho Cucamonga, and we'll connect over to the LA Metro and over to LA Union Station. So you can, from LA Union Station, get without a car from there to the city center of Las Vegas. That will be possible. But will you even want to ride it? Will you even be able to afford to ride it if from 4 years from now, you can't afford rent or groceries anymore? That's what it's about, okay? Because we're building for nothing if we at least don't solve those issues. We'll get there. All right. Let me just check on the chat, and then we'll call it a night over here. I think this was at least a good way to get back in the saddle here, get moving, get us all back in here, and just, talk to you guys. Can you talk about over the recent electric Caltrain? I know there's been some more I think they completed some part of Caltrain. I don't remember that because the last time I checked on anything Caltrain, it was maybe 2 months ago. Adam Bucera, what is China doing right and what is the U.S. doing wrong? China is putting China number one. You can make jokes of that all you want. China says China number one. Okay, the Chinese government says China number one. The American government does not say America number one. Okay, we kind of know which country they say is number one, if you know. But they don't put the American people number one. Now, yes, China does step on its own people, and China will, a lot of, I would not say all of them, again, and try to tread carefully over here, okay? But a lot of the Chinese population will let the government rail over them if it's for the benefit of the country. Okay, and we're talking about a country that has had what was that one civil war in the 1860s, the Tianjin revolt or whichever it was. But long story short, there was a Chinese person that said that he was the reincarnation of Christ and caused a massive civil war that killed millions upon millions of people, and several million of them were eaten. This is not Springfield, Ohio. We're talking about people being eaten in the 1860s in China. So, yeah, that type of stuff is going to happen. Now, in the United States, we haven't had a civil war in this country that has caused massive destruction since the 1860s. And we haven't had a war on this country, on its soil, for quite a long time. And we probably don't want to. In fact, it may not even get to that point. I think we're not going to have a sort of anything that's really kinetic in this country. I think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And it's going to look like this more and more. By the time you get out there, everybody's going to be looking and walking like if it's a favela. It could be looking like the stacks out of Ready Player One. I don't know, but that's the problem with China. At least China, even if they're LARPing or pretending that they're number one, they're at least building stuff. And guess what? They're not going to pay that back. They're taking out loans or whatever. Guess what? Who's going to go to China? Who's going to go to Xi Jinping and say, "Hey, you owe us $20 billion on that railway project"? I guarantee you that person's not walking out of there. Or if it's even better, if it's a Chinese bank. Oh, by the way, that loan just disappeared, Mr. Xi. It's gone. You don't owe anything. Don't worry. That's the problem. That's what China's doing right. That's what the U.S. is doing wrong. Again, whatever political system, you can think of it this way. Your political system is a tool. Okay? Now, how many times have we said it's not the tool, it's the user, right? So, if you have a hammer and you have a bad person behind a hammer, you can do some bad things. Now, there are some tools that are pretty terrible, okay? And communism is one of them. That's probably the worst tool out of the bunch, okay? Now, we have a system in this country that should be working, that technically could be working, but we don't have it working because the people who are in charge of the system, the people behind the tool, are not good people. That's where we're at. Let me see. Any other questions? California will buy trains next month and track line will start in early 2025. Yeah, that's what I heard about Caltrain. That's exactly that. Solely reduce resistance to electrification from NIMBYs by offering themselves improvements to their area. Again, that's part of it, and I think that was kind of the problem that really got the California high-speed rail project in hot water and why it's not moving forward anywhere significantly, because they wanted to avoid sort of more of a NIMBY outcry and thought that, well, if they built in the middle of nowhere, which is not really the middle of nowhere, but they built in the Central Valley between Bakersfield and Merced and showed, hey, look, we have a high-speed bullet train in the state of California. Oh, where from? Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego? No, Bakersfield, Merced. Yeah, you'll love to take it. It goes 220 miles an hour. Trust me, you'll love to drive from Los Angeles to go to Bakersfield and Fresno to go ahead and ride this. You'll love it. Somebody's asking, Lexborough and how's Brightline West doing? Any updates? Yeah, good updates. Like we said over here, they got $3 billion in additional funding. So they're moving forward there. I think there is one thing I did forget over here to talk about. This whole Buy America feud between Alstom and Siemens. So if you receive money from the federal government in order to build a project, there is, or not just to build a federal project, but in terms of, let's say if you want to sell a bus to a state or city or anything like that, it has to adhere to Buy America compliancy. And what that is more or less 70% of what is built on that system has to be American made or assembled. Okay? Now there's a lot of loopholes that people go around and all that sort of stuff. But the big thing here is that Alstom, who is in charge of the Acela, which they haven't really done a good job, or with the Avelia, the new version on the Northeast Corridor, and they haven't really done a good job of that. They're trying to sue Siemens and trying to kick them out of the project because everybody knows that Siemens is going to do this, and this is basically gone off the wayside at this point. Alstom is not going to win anywhere on this, but Siemens has already built the chargers for Brightline in Florida, and they're most likely going to build these city sprinters or whatever these their version of this in Brightline West in Nevada and Chicago, California. I almost said Chicago. It's getting late. But yeah, so Alstom is saying that Siemens is not complying with Buy America when they are. It's honestly, it's just Alstom being pretty salty and trying to get themselves into this by hook or by crook. And I'm not surprised that Alstom would do something like that. They've been known to be doing that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's pushing it back, and it's at this point Siemens is not going to back down or anything like that. They already got the factory over in New York, which they could have built it in Nevada. I think that probably would have been better off in Nevada rather than in New York. I mean, how many companies have already left New York? I mean, Remington, massive company, left New York. But it's what it is. Alstom already has their factory, I think 20 miles from where Siemens is in New York. But look, the more the merrier, right? But I just wish that this was a much higher demand of production, and there was a lot more people working on this, and that we had hundreds of these projects working and actually moving lockstep and in motion that people could actually get training for. So I think it would be a good program if we had 18-year-olds, instead of thinking of going to college and wasting their time, if we said right out of high school, hey, we will go ahead and train you for 6 months, and you will be guaranteed to work at, let's say, a steel factory making precast spans or something like that. That would be something that we should be doing in this country. Instead of saying, go to college, go to 4 years, go into debt, you got your degree. Oh, guess what? Now you have to go ahead and look for work. So go ahead and apply for 1,000 jobs online on LinkedIn and get nowhere. That is not a plan for the young in this country. It is not. We need something better for them. That's what we got there. Montreal's Alstom Metropolis EMUs for the REM haven't had issues as far as I've heard. Siemens has the benefit of being the bigger player in the U.S. and Canada, pre-Brightline, etc. Yep, that's true. Again, the biggest issue for Alstom is that the Avelias have not gotten the correct, the safety regulations or anything like that. So they're not running in revenue service, even after being done for 4 years and running tests on the Northeast Corridor. They haven't gotten that done. Yeah, it would be nice, Adam. Having train cars built on an assembly line like cars are built. That's what we need to get back to in this country, like the Pullman factories and all that sort of stuff. We need that. Do American rail fans envy us UK rail fans for having so many steam railways? All right, fine. We'll give you the steam railways, but not so much for most of the British rail system. We don't really envy you guys on there. I mean, it's nice that you have trains, but we don't. Well, we'll envy your steam trains. That's all. Not so much the service or punctuality, or the massive mess in private. There's one thing doing privatization, like the Japanese did. There's a whole other thing doing privatization, like the British did. That was an absolute nightmare. And it was already bad after World War II when they nationalized the service. So when they nationalize it, it's bad, and when they privatize it, it's bad. It's whatever. Oh man. Let's see. Anything else here you guys want me to go over before? I'll call this off at 9:15. At least we got the audio working. Again, I'm sorry if the quality is bad. That is one thing I really do want to work on, because anytime I've listened to some of my past streams, it sounds horrible. It sounds like hot garbage in a Pepsi can I picked up off the side of the road. That's what it sounds like. It's terrible. I probably think it's the blue mic. At this point, I've had this thing for 10 years. It served its purpose. It served fine, but I can't. Whenever I mess with the settings on any sort of streaming software, it just doesn't work. So we'll get there. Did you look at what Ram, Dodge, Deep are doing? Yeah, it's terrible. So, and I work in that industry. What Carlos Tavares has done to that. Well, it's not just Carlos Tavares, because again, he is just a front man for what the rest of the leadership in Stellantis are doing to those companies. Okay, nobody wants a $40,000 crossover. Nobody wants an $80,000 fake electric muscle car. We want, $20,000, maybe $30,000 just regular cars that work. That's all we're asking for. They're completely destroying that company. Jeep has probably one of the lowest customer satisfaction scores for any American company, period. Because they're just terrible when it comes to customer service. They're coming out with junk. They've been producing the same junk for the last 10 years. Why would you want an underpowered V6 powered, look-alike Jeep like the Gladiator? That's what, $60,000 for a fake pickup truck? No, it's terrible. It would have been nice if they gave it to that heir of Chrysler who was asking, and he was willing to go ahead and pay for having Chrysler back. But no, that's of course they're not. They laughed that off, and that wasn't going to happen. If our country did care and had cojones like China does, they would have just seized the companies and just say, hey, you take it and you go ahead and run it. It's yours now. But yeah, and then there's a whole bunch of what? There's it sounds extreme, but you know what? No, it's got to be done. It's we're in extreme measures, guys. And our country just doesn't have the wherewithal to do what needs to get done. Not our country, but our leadership in our country. Let me see. Don't forget, heavily bombed by the Germans during the war. You can't blame them, especially British Rail, for struggling after the war. Yeah, the British Rail. The Brits just put themselves in the corner. I'm not going to go into the whole history behind World War II or anything like that. But yeah, but look at Germany. They bombed them. We bombed the crap out of them during World War II. Japan was bombed to hell after World War II. Sure, the Marshall Plan did help to build a significant amount, but after that, they just took it upon themselves and rebuilt themselves. Tokyo had Tokyo and Dresden were probably the worst bombed cities, even worse than Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Tokyo by far was bombed to the point that I believe 60% of the city was burnt down and destroyed, firebombed. The Dresden firebombing was absolutely horrific. That's, you look up anything about the Dresden bombing. That was, from horrific to probably bordering on demonic. What was done there, but they were able to rebuild and build back. I think the British Empire, and this is just personal opinion from just, you can say amateur historian if you want to. I think they were on the hubris of their empire. They thought they could be able to rebuild. They took a look and said, oh, well, we've spent everything on this war. We need to get rid of our colonies. We need to get rid of everything. And we'll keep our rail systems, but they're not going to be to the best. We'll nationalize them. Oh, they're not doing too well in the 1980s. So we'll go ahead and privatize them. But, man. Yeah, the firebombing was even worse than both nuclear bombs combined, because at least the bombs go off, they do the damage, and that's it. Okay? The firebombing is continuous and absolute horror and hell. And look at our country. Our country wasn't bombed. Our country hasn't been touched at all for 100+ years, period. And so you look at Detroit. Detroit looks like it's been bombed out. I mean, a lot of these cities that I've been to and driven through, I mean, it looks like a defeated people. Our country just looks like it's falling apart. And there's beautiful places in our country, and that's the thing. That's what's sad, especially when you drive through a lot of these short, small towns. Especially, I finally had a bit of my dream to drive on Route 66. To go, and funny enough, it had to be for work, so it just coincided in general. I was like, all right, I'll use this work trip to get a dream between from St. Louis to Springfield, Missouri, and hey, it was actually, I guess, meant to be, because I rented a Dodge. I guess the company let me rent a Dodge Challenger. It was the V6, but you know what? Fine enough. It's got enough torque and it's better on gas, so it cost the company less on gas anyway than renting an SUV. But that was pretty cool. But a lot of these, it's just sad to see a lot of our towns, small towns and places and cities that have been falling apart in this country. They need help. Okay, they need trillions, billions of dollars. Not the country that that's now gonna drag us into another world war. Both of those countries. Yeah, and since then, our country hasn't maintained our infrastructure. Absolutely right. Renell asking, do you think California will use Siemens for the trains as well? Good possibility. Again, I would say it's probably going to be Siemens. It would have been, I would say, absolutely, if they built the... Well, they do have their they do have their factory over near Sacramento or near San Francisco. It's in there. I know it's Pittsburgh, California. You can't forget that it's a Pittsburgh in California. But Siemens has their factory there, so I would say it's most likely going to be Siemens. I would say absolutely if they had their factory in Nevada, but at this rate, I'd probably say so. I mean, they can retrofit that factory or upgrade it to go ahead and start building the electric high-speed rail rather than the chargers, or just build another, but we'll get there. Say what you want about BR, but the modernization plan disaster was due to a lack of experience with diesel locomotives compared to steam or electric trains. Then came the to fix British Rail. Yeah, again, a lot of other factors. You can say a lot of factors helped to destroy America's passenger rail system in this country. Both from the passenger rail system shooting themselves in the foot, and very much from the government basically taking a chain gun to the passenger rail systems. Because I mean, taxing them, more than half their annual profit to build their competitors is, that's you might as well just kill them at that rate. Salt Lake might do the Rio Grande plan. Yeah, that's something I got to look more into. There's a whole lot of stuff I got to catch up and get into, and that we didn't get into this stream. But definitely we got to start doing more videos. Yeah, and I now have a place. I'm settled down. I got the equipment here. We're there. We're good. Well, tomorrow I'm going to get my actual desk back and my actual stuff back. So we'll get there. All right, guys. Thank you all for joining. Especially thank you for staying on board after all the silly technical issues that I had. But we're here. We're not going anywhere. We may take some breaks here and there, but we're not going anywhere. So again, stay safe out there. Godspeed. We will see you all on board next time. Take care.